If everyone could please take a seat, I think we're going to start the meeting. Devorah. Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight? Let's see, what time is it? 6:38. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order, the City of Laverne City Council meeting for Monday, June 19th at 6:38 p.m. I welcome all of you tonight to our council meeting in which we will conduct business of the city, and I want to remind everyone that per the city's rules of decorum, all speakers, members of the audience, and council members are to conduct themselves with decorum and not to engage in conduct that interrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Tonight, with the Pledge of Allegiance, we are very pleased to have, once again, one of our proud veterans, Alan Argranovitz, Army Sergeant E5, conduct the Pledge of Allegiance for us tonight. Army Sergeant, if you please. Let me give him a mic.
Before we begin, all active service members, veterans, law enforcement, first responders, render a hand salute. All others, right hand over your heart. Let him begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. Argranovitz. City of Laverne Certificate of Recognition presented to Alan Argranovitz. The certificate is presented on behalf of the Laverne City Council to Army Sergeant Alan Argranovitz with sincere gratitude and appreciation for your years of dedicated service to our country. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Smile.
Oh, let's do this.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
May we have the roll call, Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Lau.
Present.
Councilmember Cashafiguita is on vacation. Councilmember Rick Crosby, our Mayor Pro Tem Rick Crosby, is also on vacation and absent. Mayor Hepburn.
Here.
We have a quorum.
As you notice, we shuffled everybody. I thought it would be better if we just close it in, so protect each other. Tonight we have 4 presentations. For the first presentation, we would like to recognize University of Laverne President Devorah Lieberman, who will be retiring after 12 years of amazing service. As you all know, the university is a pillar of our community, and Devorah has been a strong and exemplary person for the students, faculty, and all of these past 12 years. President Lieberman, you are incredible, truly. You've left the university. You're not leaving. You're still going to be there, but left in an unbelievable financial shape. And also, just for our underserved communities, you've been a pillar of our community and the surrounding areas. So if you would please join me up here. Wendy. Wendy. No, I'm going to have you read it.
Oh, thank you. I brought my photographer with me. Okay.
Mr. Johnson, come on down.
Whereas Devorah Lieberman joined the University of Laverne in 2011, becoming the university's 18th president and first woman president in its 120-year history, and whereas Devorah's unwavering commitment to the mission and vision of the University of Laverne led to the development of the campus master plan, expansion of university programs and physical structures, and an increase of endowment to $128 million, the largest comprehensive campaign in the university's history. And whereas Devorah led with heart and vision, guiding the university through challenging times while ensuring a high-quality education for all students. And whereas Devorah's tireless service surpassed the university as she was a chair of the New American Colleges and Universities, executive committee member of the International Association of University Presidents, board member for the Association of Independent California Colleges and Universities, Casa Colina Centers for Rehabilitation, La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, the Los Angeles County Fair Board, and the Los Angeles County Chamber of Commerce, and former president of the Executive Committee of the Coalition of Urban and Metropolitan Universities.
Do you need some water?
And whereas Devora has been recognized for her stellar service to the university and greater community as President of the Year by the Association of College Unions International National Ethnic Coalition of Organizations Ellis Island Medal of Honor, and more recently, Woman of Distinction by California Senator Anthony J. Portantino. And whereas today we honor her 12 years of dedicated service to the University of La Verne and the positive permanent mark she leaves on the city. Now be it proclaimed by the City of La Verne that the City Council commends and thanks Devora Lieberman for her longstanding service to the University of La Verne and the La Verne community. Devora's service truly exemplifies the pride of La Verne, and we wish her the best in her well-deserved retirement. Dated this 19th day of June, 2023, Tim Hepburn, Mayor and Council.
And council.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Picture first. Let's see that. Come on now. You only have 300 of them now.
Come closer.
All right.
Okay.
Mike's yours.
Mike's mine.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll be quick, Wendy. I promise you. Thank you. Thank you very much. 13 years ago, when Wendy Lau interviewed me, I was in New York City. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but I was in New York. I was a vice president at a university in New York, and I got a phone call from a search firm, and they said, "We've been watching you, and you seem to be a great fit for the University of La Verne. We'd like you to look at the University of La Verne and consider it for its presidency." And I said, I never heard of the University of La Verne. And they said, well, it's in Southern California. And I said, I grew up in Southern California. They said, where? I said, I grew up in Covina, and I graduated from Covina High School. I'm a Covina Colt. And they said, well, it's about 5 miles from Covina. And I said, oh my gosh. So I said, send me the prospectus, and let me just look at the prospectus. And they said, so I don't think they faxed it. Well, did we have faxes back then? Anyway, they sent it to me, and I printed it off, and it said the University of La Verne, founded in 1891. And I said, wow, that's amazing. And then it said the University of La Verne, founded by the Church of the Brethren. And I said, okay, first of all, I never heard of La Verne. I never heard of the Brethren. This is very interesting. And then I did my homework, and I said, the 17 prior presidents were all from the Church of the Brethren. And I said, well, Brethren Lieberman, I don't think they're gonna look at me.
Nice ring to it.
Yeah, it had a nice ring, Brethren to Lieberman. So to finish that story, I said, let me just look at this. And it said, in the city of La Verne, 100 at that time, 119 years old, and 60% at the time, 50%, 40% Hispanic, about 60% overall students of color, serving this region, middle, lower income, going on and doing great things after they graduate. And I said to my husband, this sounds like something I've been preparing for my entire professional life. These kinds of students who didn't necessarily know that they were going to go to college and they were going to go on and do great things with their lives. I said, let me just look at it. So I applied, never thinking I was going to be interviewed. I was interviewed by Wendy Lau and others. She wasn't the only one. But at the end of the interview, and this is the kicker, at the end of the interview, I called my husband from the airport, and I said to my husband, I'm in love with this university. I'm in love with the mission of the university. And I'd spent some time looking at the city of Laverne. And I said, I love the city of Laverne. And I said, if they offer me this position, I don't care what the salary is. Money shouldn't motivate you to take a position. It's the purpose of that position. So that was 13 years ago. And they offered me the position. I have never looked back. I've been grateful. I felt honored to serve the University of Laverne and to serve the city of Laverne. So in this 132 years, I'm just a slice. I'm 12 years of a 132-year history, and there's going to be another 132 years after I step out of this position. I hope that in this one slice of 12 years, I've added some value to the University of Laverne. I hope that I've helped students graduate and go on to do remarkable things, achieving more than they ever imagined. And I hope in a small way I've helped the city of Laverne and the University of Laverne become more and more close as partners, because we need each other. For the city to succeed, the university to succeed, we need each other. So thank you. Thank you for honoring me, and thank you for hiring me. Wendy Lau.
Thank you, Devorah.
And I know I don't have the floor anymore, but I have to tell you one more thing. During the interview, I was interviewed at, the first interview was at the airport, LAX, and I rented a car, and I said, I'm going to drive out because I want to look at the city of Laverne and the university, kind of incognito. And our daughter, one of our daughters, had just started as a freshman at Scripps College. I didn't know where it was because my husband had moved across the country. So I drove out to Scripps. She was 18 years old. She'd been there for a couple weeks because it was the beginning of school. And I said to her, honey, I am interviewing for a presidency at the University of Laverne. I have no idea where it is. Let's get in this rented car and drive and look at it. So she said, okay. So we got in the car. Remember, she moved from New York. She got in the car. We got in the car. We drove to the University of Laverne. She looked at the GPS and she said, oh my God, you're going to be 2.9 miles from here. I'm across the country. You're like every Jewish mother. You're following her everywhere.
You just can't get away from them. Thank you, Devorah. It's been a wonderful tenure. And as I said, she had a retirement at the University of Laverne. Was it last Saturday? And one of the things I said was, without the University of Laverne, we wouldn't be here. I mean, that's true, but it took the university to pull that together, and then people came, and then all of a sudden it came to the citrus industry and everything else. So it's been a partnership we've been blessed to have it, and you've made it grow tremendously, and we really appreciate your service to the community. And you're going to be on for a little bit with the new president and kind of guiding. I like that. Behind the scenes. But thank you again, and thank you for your service. Thank you. Now for our next presentation, a report on the use of fireworks in the city of Laverne by Fire Marshal Fred St. Ange and Community Risk Reduction Specialist Lonnie Shipman. Did I say it correct?
You did.
Yeah. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Lonnie Shipman, and I'm the Community Risk Reduction Specialist for the Laverne Fire Department, and I'm here with Fred St. Ange, who's our fire marshal, and we are here to talk about fireworks safety and the response here in Laverne, and we're just appreciative to have this opportunity this evening to talk to you guys about what we're calling the Observing the Laverne Way for a Safe Independence Day. And so it's really critical that we have an opportunity to kind of share that message. First things first, the most important thing about fireworks in Laverne is that they are all prohibited. They are illegal, no matter if they're safe and sane, and certainly, as we all know, the illegal ones that tend to cause a little bit of harm, destruction, and concern. We'll get to that in a sec. But all types of fireworks are illegal in the city of Laverne, prohibited by our municipal code. If folks are curious about what that means, I mean, safe and sane generally have a label or seal affixed to them. Illegal fireworks are the ones that generally shoot into the air or they're uncontrolled on the ground. But either way, all fireworks are illegal in Laverne. One of the things that we've learned is the data points to over 19,000 fires annually are started due to fireworks. And so, and over $105 million in property damages as well as death and injury. So certainly a lot of things can occur when you have fireworks and you introduce those into your community. In Laverne, we have some seriously considerable issues here, in particular to our neighbors the north of the 210. We have a lot of combustible fire load there that we've got to be concerned about. We have a lot of wild and urban interface issues up there, and so we've got to be very mindful of that. And so again, what we try to remind the community and the public to ensure that that they are not using fireworks here in Laverne. And another thing is noise pollution. That's a big concern here. As we know, fireworks, especially again the illegal ones, can be really harmful and impactful to people, to animals, cause trauma, overwhelm senses. Certainly there's a lot of reports out there about folks, former military personnel and PTSD, which is also a concern for fireworks. So just a reminder there as well. And the most important thing is in Laverne as a community that how we are as a tight-knit community, we all share the responsibility to adhere to a safe 4th of July. So really important to remember that. So as there are safe and sane fireworks, we are now all again well aware that there are no such thing as safe fireworks out there. All fireworks can cause major injury, major property damage. You can certainly Google a handful of things regarding injuries at fireworks and see a lot of really unfortunate, gruesome things that are out there on YouTube and other places. We've had notable injuries to NFL superstars and things of that nature regarding fireworks. So it's important to remember that there's a lot of things that occur. And some of the data here speaks to that. In 2021, we had the U.S. hospital emergency rooms had over 11,500 people treated for fireworks-related injuries, extremities. Over half of those injuries are extremities to the head, face, eye in particular. So definitely very critical to be mindful of those things. Children, of course, children love fireworks. Who doesn't? And, I'll just kind of jump to the last couple points there. I mean, sparklers are a thing that we probably all grew up with and we all love and adore, but sparklers burn at 1,200 degrees, which is kind of shocking for those, especially with small children here, to know what the impact of that could be. That kind of a burn, it's very significant. So, and again, in context, glass melts at 900 degrees Fahrenheit. So, sparklers can cause some significant, serious injuries. So, the Laverne way is how do we come up with different ways here to safely enjoy our 4th of July? So we've got a lot of different ideas. Obviously, the most critical thing, the most important thing is everybody loves to watch a fireworks show. We have an amazing fireworks show here in town, right over here at Bonita High School. So please join us on the 4th of July for the City of Laverne and Friends 4th of July fireworks show. It starts gates open at 6 p.m. So please think about coming and joining us. Certainly, I'm sure here in Laverne you have a pretty good vantage point for no matter where you're at of the fireworks show. So that's something to keep in mind. You can certainly be loud and proud. They've got a bunch of noisemakers that are very safe at all of our local stores. You can pick some up there. Decorate your house. Also, we have the home decorating contest and yard decorating contest in conjunction with the parade for the 4th of July. So certainly participate in that. And as cheesy as it may sound, throw a birthday party for the good old US of A. And, don't forget the cake. So a lot of different ways to do that in a very safe manner here in our community. And so with that, the next thing I'm going to do is turn the presentation over to our Fire Marshal, Fred St. Ange, who's going to discuss our response here in Laverne.
Thank you, Lonnie. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members and public.
Welcome.
Like Lonnie said, we need to keep a safe 4th of July. That's our number one priority, is being safe. So with that being said, one of our first bulletin points up there is if you guys, instead of calling 911, you guys need to reach out and if you see something go wrong, if you see something, say something, call it in, but call it in by using that number that's up there, which is the 909-596-1913. That's the number that we want you guys to call in the event of any emergencies or you see any fireworks going up in the air. Don't try to stop it yourself. Please call it in and let us handle it. That's what we're here for. Something that we're going to be doing, too, is we're going to be collectively going out with Laverne PD and Fire through the community and driving through and trying to keep it safe with you guys. If we see it, we're going to come by and respond to it and try to stop it and help mitigate that problem. So we don't want you guys doing it. We want you to call it in. And that's the number one priority for safety. You light it. The big thing is that we're gonna write it. You guys could get up to a $1,000 fine for fireworks in the city. It is completely illegal, like Lonnie was just saying. People get hurt. We don't want that. You know, to me, we need to keep you guys safe. This is a huge day, huge event. There's a lot of activities you guys could do by coming to the parade on the 4th of July. There's also the fireworks show, and I hear it's awesome. I mean, to me, everyone's shaking their heads right now. So it's like we know that's a safety feature. And with the wildland stuff behind us and this city, we want everybody to be safe. So that's our number one priority. And I can't stress that enough. So I just thank you for this opportunity of coming up here and talking for you guys. Is there any questions I could possibly answer for the council members or the public?
We just want to make sure that we go ahead and put that number up because people are used to calling 911 in any situation, and that's a bit of a change. So we want to make sure that we get that out on social media to make sure that. And
it'll hit the social media platform.
Yeah. We'll make
probably
sure
even
from the city will make sure, and we'll make sure we get that out to everybody. That's important.
Yeah. So once again, the number I'll go over one more time is 909-596-1913 is the number.
You don't have a
guys
song
need
to go with that, like a catcher to kind of remind us, you know?
Oh, he's good at the whole Staying Alive
waiting.
event thing, but I mean.
Just program that number into your phone now.
Yeah, actually, put it in your phone now. What's that? 1-800? What was it again?
Write the jingle for that. So thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Pleasure. Nice to see you. Before we move to our third presentation, I want to recognize a celebration and holiday which is not on the agenda but is important to our nation. Today is June 19th, or Juneteenth. Juneteenth represents the day that the final group of enslaved black Americans were informed that they were free, some 2.5 years after the effective date of the Emancipation Proclamation. While we are still progressing forward in ensuring freedom and racial equity, I wanted to highlight Juneteenth and all that it means. So, for our third presentation, I'd like to call up Frank Guzman, Executive Director of the Pullman Pride Center, to receive a proclamation declaring June 2023 lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ+ Pride Month. You guys want to come right now? You get us all today. How are you? All three of us. Well, yeah, the three of us. Where are you? Come on over here. Come on. City of Laverne proclamation. Whereas during June, we honor a movement that has grown stronger, more vibrant, and more inclusive every year. And whereas the diverse communities of the LGBTQ+ community continues to contribute to the widespread academic, economic, artistic, and social fears within our greater community. And whereas the City of Laverne believes that all human beings have the right to live their lives openly as who they are, and whereas all are welcome in the Laverne to live, work, and play, and every family in all of its various forms deserves a place to call home where they are safe, happy, and supported by friends and neighbors. Whereas today we celebrate the history and diversity of our community and advocate for the promotion of a society in which all can live free from discrimination and experience equality and freedom. Now be it proclaimed by the City of Laverne that the month of June 2023 we recognize as Pride Month. And we rededicate ourselves to the continued support towards a more inclusive future for all, dated this 19th day of June 2023, signed by myself, Tim Hepburn, Mayor. Thank you very much. Would you like?
Thank you. I just want to come and say thank you. You know, we service, the Pomona Pride Center services the Pomona Valley region, which includes the city of Laverne and 11 other cities. And one of the things that we've been working on is outreaching and getting into the cities that we represent. And we know that our name could be a little deceiving. When people hear Pomona Pride Center, they think that it's only serving the city of Pomona. And I'm here to tell you that's false. I'm also here to tell you that in the very near future, we will likely start a rebranding, and we will have a new name that's more inclusive of the cities we represent. And I want to be the first to say that we are very happy to serve the Laverne community just as every other city that we serve. Since our inception in 2019, we've grown to serve well over 12,000 individuals. Our first year, we were at 1,200. Second year, just over 5,000. Third year, over 10,000. And we're finishing our year June 30th, and we are on target to surpass the 12,000 mark. We have a gender-neutral closet with resources available to anyone, whether you are part of the queer community or a friend or ally. And so we have a welcoming space, and we hope that you'll take advantage of that, knowing that it's your center. It's your place to be safe, to be included, and to be celebrated with everyone else. So thank you, and we look forward to having you join us at the Pomona Pride Center, and maybe soon a new name.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience from Father Pat Travers' family? That would be a no. We move on to announcements about upcoming community events. We have a couple, but the first one I'd like to read here is Laverne Police Department. We have the Citizens Academy. We don't have a lot of people that have signed up for this, so we want to make this a success. I think it's extremely important. It teaches about our community. If you're interested in joining Laverne Police Department's upcoming Citizens Academy, classes start Wednesday, June 28th. Don't miss out on this opportunity. It is really a good one. It's Citizens Academy is a free 9-week program designed to introduce members of the community to the Laverne Police Department. For more information or to apply, contact Community Services Office, Officer Holly Savage, at 909-596-1913. I'll say that again. I don't have a little catcher on it. 909-596-1913, or email hsavage@lvpd.org. So we'll be posting this, but it's very important. Citizens Academy, we want to make this successful. People that come out of this are just amazed at the information they get, how the city functions. So let's keep it in there. Mr. Johnson.
I've done the academy, and it's a great way to learn about the Laverne Police Department. I would recommend it for everybody. Thank you.
Right. With that, Ms. Kalusik.
Good evening, everybody. And I, too, will second the Citizens Academy is great. Sign up. I kind of want to do it again, so maybe we should talk. Anyway, I am here representing Laverne Historical Society. I am Kathy Kalusek, Vice President, and I want to remind everyone about how excited we are to have 2 display cases at the Community Center for the summer. When you get a chance, please go check them out, learn a little bit more about Laverne history. So where can you hang out with the Laverne Historical Society? Next month, July 1st, 11 a.m., we'll be having a truck viewing and decorating party over at Sherry Best's house, which is 3949 Bradford Street. You'll be able to come check out the 1938 International truck that we've been working so hard to get rolling. And we're going to get it all decked out for the 4th of July parade. So many members of our community have helped to support the project through hard work and financial donations. This will be a great opportunity to check out the fruits of our community's dedication. Also, LVHS has been chosen as the nonprofit that gets to raffle off gift baskets prior to the fireworks show. And this will be a fundraiser for us. And any donations of good or monetary donations are appreciated. So you can reach out to me or to Sherry and talk to us about what we need. This is going to be a great fundraiser for us. And we're also going to be putting together the raffle baskets at the party on July 1st. And then 4th of July, we are going to have a table at the fireworks show, and we'll be selling the raffle tickets there prior to the fireworks going on. So be sure to come stop by the table, say hi, buy raffle tickets. Also a great time to join Laverne Historical Society or renew your membership if you haven't so far, 2023.
And how much is that?
It's only, I was getting to that, $20 for individuals, $25 for families, and $200 for a lifetime membership, so you can stop writing those checks or however you're going to renew your membership. I did my lifetime because I'm just too lazy to do that all the time and think about it.
Do you take Bitcoin? I was just curious.
Well,
Depending on the value at the time.
I was going to say, whatever has value, we'll take it. We can also take credit cards and things. So, just reach out to us. Thank you so much.
Is the truck running? Come on, you
That
forgot.
was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I believe that it is, and it for sure will be running by the 4th of July. That's why we're decking it out. It's
Either that or Saunders Towing. will be
Last
taking
year
care
it
of
was on a Sanders flatbed. This year it's going to be driving.
That's great.
So that's why we're decking it out. So come join us on the 1st.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it. Previously, Councilmember Robin Carter, come on up.
Well, first I can give you an update, Tim, on the truck. My husband's been working every single day down there at Eric's house, and he told me today when he came home, they finished up the wiring. They're praying on Wednesday they can try starting the engine and add the oil and everything to make sure it can run, and so they're getting very, very close, so it's really exciting. So tonight I'm here on behalf of the 4th of July committee. We had some talk about the 4th of July events. It is the biggest day of the year for Laverne. From the morning, starting at 6 a.m., we have the pancake breakfast going on to the parade into the afternoon where we have the fireworks show. We have a great band this year, Code Duck, that will be entertaining us. There's all kinds of booths going to be inside the stadium and food for people to eat. I encourage, as the treasurer of 4th of July committee, I'm always thinking money. I encourage people to come into the stadium because I do want you to know that the funds that we make from ticket sales and other events, that is what pays for the fireworks show. I would like to thank City Council for your support over the years and the continued support. It means a lot to the committee. Wendy and Cash are 2 members on our committee, and it's very valuable to have your input. So thank you for the time that you do give to that. I do want for the audience to know, and the people out there, the Laverne Recreation Summer Program book. On the very last page is all the information about the time and all the events happening that day. And if you don't have that handy, you can go to the City of Laverne's website and you can get all the information on there. Ticket sales, if you buy them pre-sale, they're $10 at the community center, at the community services office, and you could get those up to July 3rd. And so after that, if you buy them at the gate, they're $12 a ticket.
Cash, right?
We prefer cash.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. Anyone else have any announcements? Yvonne. Ms. Gallegos.
Hello, good evening. Yvonne Gallegos. I live over in College Lane. And I do want to announce that on Wednesday, July 5th, Cassie will be having a meeting. We're going forth, and one of the things that we're going to be presenting on is going to be our initiative of Compassionate Laverne. So if anybody wants to learn about that, Thomas Allison will be giving the presentation during that Cassie meeting. I also want to quadruple endorse the Citizens Academy as well. Citizens Academy was a wonderful experience, so I encourage anybody to join. I I know it is a commitment of 9 weeks, a Wednesday of every 9 weeks, but it really was a great way to learn about the city and the operations, so I highly recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beauchamp.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to remind the residents that the Probation Oversight Commission are still conducting meetings. They are having a meeting this Thursday, June 22nd at 12 noon. It is scheduled for 1 hour and a half. You can attend in person at St. Anne's Events and Conference Center, which is located at 155 North Occidental Boulevard in Los Angeles, or you can participate through the telephone or via WebEx, which is like Zoom. You can go to poc@lacounty.gov. I encourage the residents to stay on top of the Probation Oversight Commission, as I recently found out with no notification to our city that the level 4 707B offenders has increased to 13 when it was only 7. So it is almost doubled. So we still have an issue with those youth detainees up at Cat Afflerbach Page. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else? Announcements? Council, any announcements? Okay. Let's see. We move to consent calendar. We're going to close announcements and move to the consent calendar. As a reminder, the consent calendar is considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion unless pulled for separate discussion. Mr. Domer, was there anything pulled from the consent calendar?
There was not, Mr. Mayor.
Council, any request to pull any item from the consent calendar?
I just have some questions in regards to some of these appointments or reappointments. Being a first-term council member, I don't know everybody that's maybe already appointed. It'd be nice to have some sort of a bio included in this as far as who the individuals are that are being reappointed or appointed for the first time, for that matter. It's hard to approve somebody when you don't have any type of recommendation.
Yeah, I understand that, and we're following the current policy on that, which is if the current members still have a term left and they seek reappointment, then we bring them forward. One of the things that I've discussed with the mayor is looking at the process in more detail as the city attorney and I look at the overall committees and commissions, and coming back with a way for the appointment process that's maybe a little bit different, maybe just some tweaks on what we currently do. One of the issues now that you're in districts, it kind of changes the overall nature, so that's one of the options that when we do bring something back, I want to have a good discussion with City Council about how that goes forward. If you like, basically appointees stay on a commission until either reappointed or somebody's appointed in their place. So if you want to continue that item or any of those, we can, bring back bios and anything else, and know that they will continue to be on the commission or committee that they're serving on currently.
Yeah, I see that on the senior advisory. Looks like a reappointment. The youth sports, it's not clear whether that's a. Steve, is your mic on? Oh, excuse me. As far as the committees, that I may not know the individuals, and it may have been an appointment from previously. It'd be nice to have some sort of a bio or some background on who's being requested to be appointed. The senior advisory looks like it's a reappointment. Youth sports looks like it's not a reappointment, but I don't know that. But anyway, in the future, I'd like some sort of a background on who it is that we are appointing or reappointing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Domer, we were talking also about the annual contracts. Did you want to, as far as what we're looking for, would you like to have a talk about that before we go to consent, or do you want to pull that and talk about it? Oh, that's other matters. Never mind. Never mind. We'll talk about that later. And Councilmember Johnson, I do agree. Appointments, we need to review that, and I think, and I guess you call it an overhaul of how we do it, is probably in order to make sure that we're all aware of what's going on, and also when we have any appointments or any type of open items on any committee, that we would make sure that the process is properly done as far as flowing it out to the community to make sure we get enough people to come on those committees, or at least apply for them for us to consider.
Also, for clarification, the consent calendar is items 1 through 14.
Well, and just to clarify, the process as it is right now is proper. We're just looking at a new way to do it to make sure that the information is more clear. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. With that, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, on the minutes, if we could, there was an
We
item.
have a modification. or a
Yeah,
change.
modification to the minutes for June 5th, just under, on page 7.
With Kathy
for the-
Palusic?
Correct, yeah. So it's highlighted for you, and it now reads, Laverne resident thanked the previous city council and city manager for approving the current refuse contract with Waste Management at a lower cost than what other cities are paying. That's the correct language. So when you do approve it, if you could have that with amendment, as amended.
Okay, including the consent calendar with the amended item with Ms. Kalusek. With that, need a motion?
So move.
Second?
I'll second.
Vote, please. Look at that.
Oops, sorry. I'm in my wrong seat.
That was approved
Oh, that's right, it's different.
3-0
It is.
with 2 council members absent, Councilmember Castro Flagita and Mayor Pro Tem Crosby absent.
We move to public hearings. Tonight we have 4 public hearings. Our first public hearing is to determine the necessity of a utility users tax. Mr. Domer, would you please introduce staff member who will be reporting?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Finance Director Christy Lopez will be handling this matter.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight I am here with a recommendation that the City Council maintain the current voter-approved rates for the city's utility users tax, otherwise known as UUT. In 2012, the voters approved the current ordinance, which collects 6% for both electric and gas and 5.75% of telecommunications, with a reduced rate of 3% available for income-eligible residents, senior housing complexes, mobile home parks, churches, private schools, and nonprofits exempt under 501c3. The ordinance requires an annual hearing to determine whether the UUT continues to be necessary. At the time that this report was written, there were roughly $900,000 in unfunded department budget requests. This figure has been reduced to roughly $400,000 by shifting funds to other funding sources, including one-time ARPA funds. However, based on the city's current proposed budget, there is a need for the full UUT, which is anticipated to provide roughly $3.7 million in reserves. I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Christy, that's $3.7 million, not necessarily in reserves, but in revenue, right?
I'm sorry, revenues, my bad.
Any other questions for staff? We'll go ahead and open a public hearing. Do we have anybody in a public hearing? We're going to open the public hearing. Any comments or questions on this item? Ms. Beauchamp.
My question, Christy, is was this listed as a specific line item on the budget? Because I went back and looked at the budget and I couldn't see anything that specifically categorized UUT. I don't know if it was phrased differently or it was referenced different way, but I didn't see it on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Any other public comments? Mr. Bowen.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I just have kind of a procedural. You just approved the budget a minute ago in the audited or in the consent calendar, did you not?
Yes.
Wendy's saying no.
No, we're in the, yeah.
You approved the budget, right?
Yes.
And this $3.7 million is already in it. So wouldn't it make sense that this subject comes up before the budget, so you're not budgeting money and then voting on whether you're going to collect that money? Just an idea.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Any other public comment? we'll go ahead and close public comment. Ms. Lopez, would you like to comment on those?
Yes, so, sorry, I'm shorter. That item is listed in the revenues, so I can definitely show you where that is. It is in the general fund, and if I'm correct, I think it's 101-331-1400 series, but I could be wrong. But it is right at the top under taxes. And I don't know if you guys were kind of discussing, so I'm thinking you may have something.
No, Mr. Mayor, procedurally, yes, we could do it differently, and what I would suggest is that next year, when we have the budget study session, that something like the UUT public hearing be done at that point, so it's before the agenda, we have that direction going forward. So one of the things that again, I'm looking to do and work with staff is look at all those things that we have to modify or amend as we go forward in our practices, and I will add that to the list of looking at it. So, you know, given that the recommendation was to continue it at the level because there is a need, you know, it flowed, but I do agree that procedurally it would be better to be at the meeting prior, and then we'll look at anything else that also needs to be done like that. So I know that at this meeting coming up next are all the landscape maintenance districts and everything else, and sometimes that's a little repetitive, but we're going to be looking at those also.
Thank you. I think it's important. Good point, Mr. Bowen. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we need to vote on that. Any other discussion? Yeah. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Lau.
I'm on the side and it throws me off.
It still passed.
Do we need to put arrows?
That was approved 3-0 with Mayor Pro Tem Crosby and Councilmember Castro-Vigita absent.
Okay, we move on to our second public hearing is the citywide landscaping and lighting district number 6. Mr. Domer, please introduce staff member who's reporting on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Cody Howling, who is our city engineer, will be taking care of this one and the 2 or 3 after this one also. So,
good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Yes, so we've got 4 sort of similar and repetitive items, all separate, but I'll try to hit the high notes and be respectful to everybody's time and surely get in the weeds if you guys care to. So we'll start with the first one. The first one is Landscape Lighting District number 6. This is a special benefit assessment district, as like the next 2 that were set up through the 1972 Landscape Lighting Act. A few highlights that I'd like to point out to council's attention here. For this coming fiscal year, it's proposed that all zones have a flat assessment with exception to Zone 6. And I might just go back. District 6 has 6 zones within it. So Zone 6, which is a smaller subsect of that, will have an increased assessment of $35.79, which amounts to 3.7%, which aligns with the CPI for this past year, March 23rd, 2023. Excuse me. Total assessment that Zone 6 will be receiving for this annual year is $301.39. With that, there's also a few other highlights. Of the 6 zones, 3 are in a position to where the general fund is contributing to help balance the budget. And the occurrence of why that exists is that when these zones were formed, and like I mentioned, Zone 6 has a little bit of a different scenario, but these other ones, they didn't have a CPI inflator built into it. And so we're sort of stuck with these assessments for lack of a Prop 218 approval to authorize recommendation of higher assessments. So to bring to council's attention is very soon after this, staff will be bringing it to council's another future meeting to get direction on how to move forward and presenting further options and detail of how to handle these 3 particular zones. I'm going to jump right into 7 and 8 because those are very straightforward. 7 this year is getting a minor increase to their, District 7 rather, minor increase to their assessment. Last year the assessment was $660. This year we proposed $684 for an annual total assessment. Zone 8 will remain flat. And as is 84-1M, which is a little bit different from the others, but for intents and purposes, it's about the same. So that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
You did streamline that. Thank you, Mr. Howling. First of all, do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Howling regarding these 3 items?
For Zone 6, to bring that up to current costs, that would take another ballot for
Yes.
that area?
Yeah, and so there's a number of options that we'll present in more depth to council. I'm not prepared to go into super deep numbers tonight, but for example, Zone 6 has currently got a $1,478 deficit for this year operating. It would take a Prop 218 ballot, which it would be basically a simple majority of the property owners to approve it. What that increase is, if council chooses when we bring it back to move forward, it's something to be subject to discussion. It might include a CPI inflator, if I may recommend, so that we hopefully future-proof this, because obviously taking these things back out over and over again is not a preferred way of doing it, but we of course also want to keep things lean and tight and be most efficient with the revenue created for those.
Councilmember Lau.
Just a point of clarification and just for housekeeping purposes, on the agenda itself, under number 16, which is Zone 6, we should have a notation there that Cash, although he's not here, would declare a conflict of interest because he owns property there. So I just want to keep it clean because we do notate under 19, the 84-1M, that he would have declared a conflict because he lives within that district. So the body of the agenda items in the packet has that information, but it does not in the agenda. So if we can just make sure that's clarified for when we approve the minutes for next time.
Understood. Thank you.
So in order, what you're proposing to or going to be reviewing is the fact that in order to, because of 218, we have to do a new, with a CPI adjustment instead, and we'd have to go with Prop 218, and it would have to be, like you say, a minor majority. Is that what you said?
It would be a simple majority,
Simple
50%
majority.
plus
Okay.
1. Yeah.
Okay.
And
You're working on that, is what you're saying.
It will be something we bring back to council, and without it, unfortunately, there is no further action allowed to the code to increase it. So, yes.
Okay.
And do we have a boundary of Zone 6?
Absolutely. Let's see.
missing that? I think it's on-
Zone 6 is it's a development. It's
Here it is.
Hartshorn Ranch and Oak Leaf Place. It's off of Fruit Street and just north of Amherst. It's those first 2 cul-de-sacs to the north of Amherst, just north of the Lutheran High School.
Lutheran High School. Okay.
Yeah, and their improvements are the frontage along Fruit, and there's some improvements along Amherst that covers.
Very big.
Yeah. Any other questions for Mr. Howling? We'll go ahead and open up public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item or these items? Ms. Beauchamp.
Without putting blame on anybody, I would like to know whose watch is it to watch for accounts to get to the deficit. I mean, why is it $1,700 or $1,400 in the hole before it's being addressed? It should have been something that should have been keeping an eye on while they were still on the positive side. And is this something that was not considered when that project, when that housing project was constructed? So I don't know who. I mean, I know we've been through several finance directors of no fault of Christie or any specific person, but overall, that's pretty important, especially when it affects my street. Thank you.
We have a vested interest in this one. Well, I know from previous I know from previously looking at these, a lot of these had a surplus, so they would just roll the surplus into it. But unfortunately, on this one, so we'll let staff do that. But generally, it's been a surplus, and it's always been we'll go into surplus to make modifications with no additional costs to each district. It's been in the past. So, but any other questions on this item? We'll go, anybody online? No hands raised? We'll close public hearing and we'll move back to the dais council.
I just have a procedural question. I know they're listed as separate items, but can we vote on them as a block, or do they need to go one by one?
One by one.
One by one. God, you're tough. With that, no further question. Did you want to answer that, Mr. Howling, before we move on?
Absolutely. So, with the way that the budget is run, and Mayor, you're correct. Some of these have healthy reserves where we can use those to balance, and the reserves come and they go. Capital improvements come. We have years that are very expensive, years that are not that expensive. So there's an ebb and a flow to it, and it's something we have been watching actually for the last 2 or 3 years or so. Lately, utility costs have hit, contractual services. Last year, one thing to note here is while we don't have CPI inflators in a lot of these, the few that we do, they are even capped as well. And last year, I think, I might be a little exaggerated on this, I think we were in the 9% range, high 8% for CPI last year. So last year certainly accelerated a lot of things for us. Yeah, and we definitely don't want to take a Prop 218 vote out unless we're absolutely certain it's necessary. So with that.
Thank you. I do agree with the CPI adjustment. It keeps things clean, and it automatically adjusts like contracts. So, but I know it's not the easiest thing to do. But I think seriously with the costs of equipment, the cost of boots on the ground, and the cost of electricity, gas, and all the other things that we have, and especially these maintenance districts, especially these larger ones, we need to review that to make sure we're doing the right thing and making sure that they're fluid and they're stable. Any other questions for staff, or we're going to take? Let's go ahead and take the first one. We'll take the landscaping lighting district number 6. Do you have a motion?
That's number 16.
Yeah,
Number 16.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the proper recommendation on that is that the City Council adopt the attached resolution number 23-39, providing for the annual levy and collection of assessments for the special zones in District Number 6 for fiscal year 2023-24.
So
Motion.
moved.
Second.
Second.
Make sure you do it the right way.
Have I had a problem?
No. Her.
That was approved 3-0 with Councilmember Cash and Mayor Pro Tem Crosby absent.
Next, district number 7, Mr. Domer, which would be number 18, resolution number 2341.
17.
No, 17, so.
I'm sorry.
Once again, I'll
District number 7.
District number 7, sorry, resolution number 2340,
Drop.
landscaping light district.
Cody Howling again for this one.
Well, I think I hit the highlights. So if there's any questions on 7, I'd be happy to go through them. But like I'd mentioned, number 7's got an increase from $660 on the annual basis to $684. With that's a 3.6% increase in line with CPI, a $24 increase.
So 17, I'm showing the proposed assessment is 684, but the maximum is 693.
Yes, very good question. So we are not assessing the max on this one. If you flip to the budget, you can see that we are applying reserves. So as sort of we discussed, there are some funds with very healthy reserves, so healthy that I have an obligation to return those funds. We can't build in excess of an amount of reserves. So that is sort of the strategy here, is sort of a belt and suspenders, is applying some of the CPI so we keep on up with that, but also bringing down the reserves. Now the problem or challenge that we're also faced with this one is it doesn't have a CPI increase, and so that $693.26 assessment is the absolute max until the question gets brought back to the voters for 218 process.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Howley? We'll go ahead and open up public hearing. Anybody want to talk on this one? Any comments, questions? We'll go ahead and close public comment. Move it back up the dais. Any other questions or comments for staff? Motion?
I move that we adopt resolution 2340, providing for the annual levy for fiscal year 2023-2024 for District 7.
Second.
Vote, please.
That was approved 3-0 with Crosby and Cash absent.
Very good. We have number 8.
18. District
Number 8.
8.
Public hearing.
So this assessment's going to be flat, and let's see, let me flip to the budget sheet if there's anything notable here. Again, we're crediting reserves towards this one to balance for this proposed fiscal year. No CPI inflator is built into this one either. So, but it will be flat for this assessment.
Thank you.
So there's no change?
No change,
For-
exactly.
for
Yeah,
this one.
same as last year and years prior. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Howling.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and open up public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? I know they're exciting. No takers. We're going to close public hearing, move it back up to the dais. Any other further questions for staff?
No? Do we need,
We need to.
do we need a vote on this?
We need to vote on
Okay.
all, so.
Okay.
So resolution number 2341, landscaping and lighting, district number 8, public hearing and annual levy. Is that correct?
District
Motion?
8. So moved?
Second.
Vote, please.
That was approved 3-0 with Cash and Crosby absent.
Number 19, Mr. Howling.
To get a workout. All right. This is one just a hair bit different from the others. This is not a 1972 Landscape Lighting Act. This is a Municipal Improvement Act of 1913. So there's some slight differences in that, but it's more or less about the same. This particular maintenance district was established to maintain the slopes and the storm drains along Esperanza. This year, obviously, with the heavy rains, posed a risk to, pushing up expenses, but things held together mostly. So we were okay, and again, this year the assessment is proposed to be flat as prior years at $8 a parcel for a standard parcel. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Howling. Any questions for Mr. Howling?
No.
No? We'll go ahead and open a public, go ahead. Peter? We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Previously, Councilmember Ms. Carter. Come on up.
You're so sweet. On this one, this is where I live, and I pay this assessment. I could never talk about it before. I always had to be recused. Anyhow,
I'm
on
sorry,
this.
your time's up.
You'd love to do that, wouldn't you?
Sorry, no.
Anyhow, on this one, who takes care of the Esperanza? Is it the county or the city? Because as you know, you go up and down it too, Tim, it is so overgrown down Esperanza. It's over the curbs, and to me, the fire department up there should have even probably have said something needs to be done. It needs to be cut back. I know for all of our homes up in our associations, it has to be cleaned up 200 feet from any home. Now, from the curbs and the street, I would think it would have to be cut back, and it has been in previous years. So who does it, the city or the county? Everyone's been asking me, who's going to clean this mess up?
I think Mr. Howling has that information. Thank you, Ms. Carter.
So yes, within this 84-1, there is a line item for contractual maintenance services. It is $6,000. $6,000 doesn't buy a whole lot these days, but it is something that is covered by the city and funded with the revenue that gets developed from this district. So.
As far as what's in Laverne and what's in the county.
As far as what's in Laverne and what's in the county.
What is the
Who's
responsibility between the
And
two,
it's-
and what starts county and what starts the city, as far as the maintenance and the upkeep of Esperanza?
Right.
And then Cody, also, if it's city crew or if we contract that out to a third party.
My understanding is it's contracted out, but there's the chance that there could be city crews involved as well. As far as I have maps that I have to go back and refer to, and I can certainly share. They're not typically part of this package, as this one's a little bit different from the other landscape lighting acts where maps are required. So I without a specific, it varies along the alignment of Esperanza. Generally, I think towards the north end, there's a lot of slopes up there near Golden Hills, where it transitions into Golden Hills. That area to the east of the street is certainly going to be part of it. The storm drain network that feeds in there, the area drains. Where exactly the boundaries are with the county space up there, I'd have to pull out a map to be more specific on the actual locations.
And then, Mr. Mayor, it also depends on property ownership. So, as you know, we do a weed abatement at various times during the year, and so notices go out. So, as we look at all these things, I think this is one of those items that we should look deeper into as we come back to you guys with either Prop 218 items or anything like that, but have better delineation of that mapping responsibility for the county, for the city, for private property owners, those private properties that typically get a notice to do it. Sometimes they prefer that somebody else comes in because the cost to do it is that much cheaper.
I think it's important because, as Councilmember Carter stated, that's one of the main arteries that's to and from for basically our east side north that, and as everybody's noticed, you look at Caltrans, you look at any highways and freeways, the maintenance is horrific right now. The overgrowth on most of any encroachment upon a freeway or anywhere is just, it's really bad in California. And I'm all over the place and I really notice it, but especially those areas, I think I agree with Mr. Domer that we need to find out whose responsibility, but also I do like the thing about reviewing these as far as Prop 218 and find out where the CPI adjustments to make sure we're covering that. That's an extremely high fire zone, and it needs to be cut back. So, Mr. Johnson.
And that's part of our fire marshal's job, along with the county fire marshals, to identify those properties that need weed abatement and take care of it.
Review. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Tim, I'd like to clarify, it's not near any property. It's as you go north, up past the homes on Esperanza, and it's all just hillside. No homes are there.
No. I know what you're talking about. No, we have to figure out who's responsible for that, but you're right.
Yeah, that open space is what we're talking about, as far as the county or the city's fire marshal.
Please, take the mic. Public Works Director, Ms. McWade.
So I heard from our acting maintenance manager, we do a combination. He has the crew scheduled to spray and cut down. We had a contractor earlier in the year, but with the rains it grew back. So we'll be working to remove it again.
There you go. Thank you very much. The boss has spoken. Any other comments? Any other public comments on this? With that, we'll close public comment. Any other comments for Mr. Howling or on this item? Then I would take a motion on resolution number 19, resolution number 2342, maintenance district number 84-1M, public hearing and annual levy. Motion?
I move that we adopt resolution 2342 for the levy of providing for the levy of the annual assessment in a special maintenance district 84-1M.
Second?
Second.
Vote, please.
That was approved 3-0 with Cash and Crosby absent.
Mr. Howling, you have the mic. Item number 20.
I think
Oh,
I'm
I'm
done.
sorry.
I think I'm done for the
You're
night.
done. Oh, these
Thank
are
you.
annual agreements. You're done. Get out of here, sir. Thank you.
He doesn't want this one. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this item number 20 is about the annual city agreements. This is an annual process that the city has undertaken for many, many years. And quite frankly, as I have spoken to you individually, I don't like it, and I'm going to bring back changes to it because it's just kind of a messy process going forward. So am okay with it going forward this year, but what I want to do is look at these contracts individually. First of all, as far as their need to be on an annual agreement. Some of these are better if they're 3 years. Again, going with our policy not to extend beyond 5 years. Some of these agreements, much like the with City of San Dimas or Bonita Unified School District, are for reimbursement agreements. So we're actually doing the service and they're paying us. So That's typically not the type of agreement that you put on an annual agreement process because it's services being reimbursed. Now, we should have a long-term agreement with those entities, and much like we do now, for example, with the school crossing guards, is better understanding and a better agreement between the city and the school district as far as the distribution of who's paying for what. It's a 50-50 split right now. But altogether, and I'm not going to be waiting until next year. As soon as this meeting's done, I'm going to be looking at a lot of these contracts because they do have terms where we could end them, extend them. Some of these are your on-call or as-needed contracts, which we should be looking at. When's the last time we went out to bid? Do a professional bid, get several online so that we have those as-needed services when we need them. But then you also have a process put in place when you need those. So you just don't go back to the same person each time. You either go to the next one or you actually have 3 or 4 on there. You do a mini bid to get the best cost price for whatever the need is, and you choose based on the lowest cost at that point. But you've pre-qualified some contractors to do that work for you. So there's a lot to look at in this process. I am recommending the approval of it at this time, which is resolution number 2343, to authorize the mayor and the assistant city clerk to execute the annual agreements as listed on the resolution. Yeah, I know this is one of the things that you've hired me for, to look at some of the processes, and this is one that now that we're through the budget, this is on the top.
Thank you. I think before we have any, let's go to public. Let's open up public comment. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Don't all jump at once. If I offered you candy? No. With that, we'll close public comment. I see nothing on the screen there. Comments, Councilmember Lau.
My only comment is, one, thank you for taking a deeper dive into these. I would be interested, based on the discussion of, what's on call, what would be appropriate for multi-year, if you can maybe try to categorize them in buckets for us to better understand. I'd rather not have a huge, long running list. I'd like to see them in buckets.
Yep.
So,
Councilmember Johnson, comment?
I'm just glad that we're looking at these contracts and not, or at least in the future, going to be looking at these and taking out the ones that don't need to be in here and streamline this. Make it easier for everybody and more cost effective.
I think it just goes along with transparency, and I think we're headed that direction. This has been a bone of my contention for many, many years now, and I think that it's actually music to my ears. We've got a city manager in here and also staff that agrees that we need to review these, and we need to review them seriously and take a look at them. So that's enough. Thank you, Mr. Domer. I appreciate that, and you did listen to council and listen to, as we've all said, that it's very important that we make sure that the residents are being served well and being served with contracts that are of a good nature and good services. Not always cost is the only concern, but good services for what we have. With that, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve resolution 23-43.
I'll second.
Vote, please.
And that was approved 3-0 with Cash and Crosby absent.
And I made that resolution without having my mic on. It's on too.
Oh, so you did that.
Thanks.
Now on to our last item, the annual comprehensive financial report for June 30th, 2022. Mr. Domer, please introduce the staff member who will be reporting. I wonder who that is.
Thank you. I'd like to call up Christy Lopez, our finance director, who will make the presentation, but also have a video presentation. Our auditors could not be here tonight, but Christy will tell you that also and do it better than I did.
I really appreciate Christy doing it for the fact that I love our auditors, but I'm sorry they just don't have the personality that you do. Thank you.
We have some pretty good auditors.
I think
they had good personalities.
Thank you for doing it, though. We appreciate you doing it. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
So good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, as Mr. Domer already said, I have a recorded presentation by the city's external auditors who have completed the fiscal year 21-22 annual comprehensive financial report or ACFR, as it is well known in the government finance world. After the recorded presentation, I will be available for any questions you may have.
Laverne. My name is Brianna Schultz. I'm the engagement manager for Laverne's audit for the fiscal year ending June 30. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members, City of Laverne. My name is Brianna Schultz. I'm the engagement manager for Laverne's audit for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. The engagement partner is Brad. Oliver, unfortunately, both he and myself.
Well, I think
Test. Testing.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members, City of Laverne.
just play it on my phone. I'm just kidding. Are you echoing on that? I don't think so. No. It was obviously the presentation for some reason. Okay. So, change of plans. Go ahead and go to the next one. What about the PDF that I sent? Okay. Okay, so it is the auditor's responsibility. I'm sorry, they're going for city's responsibilities. It's the city's responsibilities to present the information fairly and adopt all of the accounting principles that the city needs to follow, including policies, procedures. So the city sets all of those and establish any internal controls which would detect fraud. And those are the city's responsibilities. And then what happens is the auditors come in and they review all of our responsibilities and ensure that we are doing everything that we're supposed to do. So they look at all of our financial statements, make sure they do testing, they do random sampling of items, and based on some calculations that they do, they determine the number of items that they need to test. They go through, look at all of our items, make sure that we're following all of our policies and procedures, and then once they have reviewed all of those items across all funds, including enterprise and government, special revenue funds, once they've done that, then they can issue a position, which this year the city received received a position that was the highest position that we could receive, and that is a unmodified opinion or a clean opinion, and that is the highest position that the auditor can, an independent auditor can give out. And one area that they did identify, which Brianna, who is our managing auditor, mentioned in this, is they did find a significant deficiency, which was related to the timeliness of completing our year-end accounting items, which included the bank reconciliation. So within this book here, which is our financial report, which is found on the city's website, we have a lot of different areas in there, including a letter which has the city's response to that significant deficiency. And that was something that before I returned, there was a memo that was given to the city manager, and it was something that I expressed to Mr. Domer when he started, was that the city was behind and would have to delay our audit. And so that is the significant deficiency that was noted in our report. And I think that's pretty much what she was talking about, even though you can't hear her. So in this report, there's a lot of different sections, including what they call the MD&A, or the Management Discussion and Analysis. That is really where the city goes through and looks at and compares to the prior year. It is best to look at our financial statements when you are reading that MD&A. One area that really did impact our numbers, which actually Mr. Domer asked me about, is that it appears that we had a large decrease in expenses this year, but really what that is the PERS liability that we have had in the past basically was gone, and we had a huge asset in PERS. That is due to the returns that were received and PERS is always a year behind. So with this report being 21-22, it's actually a couple years behind.
Yeah. And Mr. Mayor, on that, so what people are going to see in our next audit is probably a whiplash on that issue because
Yes.
the year in question, PERS had about a 21% return, which their normal is, at that time, it was 7%. With that 21% return, it dropped down to 6.8. The following year, they were at a negative 6 something, so that's a 13% underneath. So that's what we're going to be experiencing next year. So you're going to see those assets and everything kind of go the other way, just as a forewarning to everybody. So
Is that something different?
no,
We've
unfortunately,
seen- it's like ocean waves crashing on the shore. It's
and
incredible.
yeah, and there may be some extra things in the future where I don't know, Christy can talk to this. They may put in our physical assets like our streets, storm drains, sewers into the equation, and that's going to be very interesting how it affects the external audit.
Assets or liabilities?
Well, those are assets.
Those are assets, yes.
Sometimes they're liabilities when they collapse and they fail. But yeah, it just, you know, I hate the ACFR. So and Chrissy knows this from my texts and all that stuff and my conversations with her. You know, if you're an accountant, maybe it's a great thing, but you know, I think there's better ways of looking at the city and the budget and understanding where you're at. And there's some good parts of it, but it's very difficult to read. And so one of the things I'd look to do after this first 6 months here is, you know, helping our public understand better what the information is in the ACFR. So we are looking at doing kind of a PAFR, which is a popular annual financial report, which is a smaller kind of condensed version that highlights certain things that gives people a better snapshot versus going through all these things. But the best part of the ACFR is the supplementary information. That's at the back. A lot of good information in there. So if you're a dork, it's a really great document.
It does. It has 10 years of information, and a lot of times it compares current year to 10 years ago. So
That's nice.
one new area that I didn't mention, and I know Brianna went over, is this year we had a new pronouncement. We had GASB 87, and next year we'll have GASB 96. GASB 87 was so GASB is the Government Accounting Standards Board, and they decide that we need to do something new and we have to do it. And so this year they decided that we needed to look at the value of our leases. So we had to look at all of our existing leases and determine if they qualified, and then anything that did qualify we had to include. And so that looks at the life of the lease and what the value is. So that is new in our ACFR this year. And next year we will have SBETAs, which are subscription-based. I can't remember the whole thing, but it's subscription-based agreements. So because everything is shifting, or a lot of stuff is shifting now to the cloud, where we used to buy an actual computer and it held all of our financial statements or financial information.
Not anymore.
Now everything's going to the cloud, so they are considering that an asset. So we now have to identify all of those and include those in our books next year. So that is on our, my correction, it is something that we had to implement this year, so we will be including that in our ACFR this year. So this is just a receive and file, so if you have any questions, I am here to answer them.
Any questions for Christy?
Financially, we're in good shape.
So financially, we did add a little over $5 million to the reserves this year, but as you guys know, that is the Amherst property, and those funds are in here, and it does look like our general fund increased by that amount, but what you guys did is you identified that $4 million of that was going to go into the 115 trust, and that did not happen until actually after I got back is when we actually moved those funds. So at the end of the fiscal year for 21-22, those were still here, and so we moved those, I believe it was November, into the 115 trust. So
Yeah, the ACFR is on the website, so if
It is.
anybody looks at it, it's under the transparency and the annual budget and comprehensive reports. So it is on there.
It's good sleeping material.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
With that, let's open up public comment, and we'll hold you at bay, Christy. Anybody up for public comment? Mr. Owen.
Mr. City Manager, Mr. Mayor, Council. I was waiting for her to put up the last slide. Page 603 on in your packet tonight. And it just caught me, so I'm just asking a question. The last slide said no disagreements with management, no material errors or irregularities, no significant accounting issues, but fraud communications were made with the city council members and no material findings are noted. What exactly does that mean?
So I'll have, that's SAS, it's one of the standards, but basically separate of management, the auditors meet with the governing board or communicate with them to ask them if they have any concerns about management or any concerns about anything that they've seen. And then they investigate that if there are anything.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that saying we were interviewed?
No, it's the
It's the document.
you did.
So, yeah. Next time we'll put what SAS it was. Yeah.
Anyone else for public comment? No hands raised? We'll go ahead and close public comment back on the dais. Mr. Johnson.
I'm happy with our new team involved in this budgeting process. Christy, I appreciate everything you've done for us. Ken, I appreciate everything you're doing for us so far, everything you've done and what you're going to do in the future. I appreciate it very much.
Except for the sound system.
Are you taking responsibility for the sound?
In this position, yes, I will.
Thank you, Mr. Councilmember Lau.
No, I just wanted to echo the appreciation for Christy and the staff, because I know that, one of the, in the documents in the memo, does outline some of the difficulties that were being faced during this time period. So to come back and be able to get through this, I appreciate that. It is a lot. And I, appreciate the auditor's recommendation and would love to just hear a report back out, as we move along, where we are with the recommendations posed by them. So, thank you.
Good job. I know it's been difficult. We've, the last year and a half have been an interesting time, and especially with COVID finishing and coming back to full service, new city manager, we've had new staff, and I know it hasn't been easy, but the buck stops here. You rallied the troops, you got your stuff together, we got our, our audit complete with very few items that were of any concern, and you answered all those to the auditors as you did, especially when it was, reconciliations and things like that. I get it. It was kind of, I'll just say it was messy. And I do, like Councilmember Johnson and Councilmember Lau, I appreciate what you guys have done. It's never perfect. I know we bounced a lot. Figures were changing as we went along. But I do appreciate you keeping us in the loop, along with Mr. Domer, what's going on, so we're not sideswiped. And I know that the numbers did change and move, but that's because you guys are watching it closely and you're picking up every little piece and every little thing that needs to be accounted for, and I do appreciate that. As the state keeps changing how we do things, which is just so wonderful. Just a quick question. Do we know what our unfunded liability is at this point? Yeah, a long time ago, yeah.
I can definitely get that for you. It has definitely changed. So we're getting close to, although this is 21-22 and we're just finally finishing this ACFR, the fiscal year is almost over. So I will be doing another one of these, soon, unfortunately. But we will have those numbers out. I believe in August is when PERS releases those figures. So we will have more accurate figures for you. I believe it's the second week of August.
Because I've always been proponent that we would continually pay down our unfunded liability and never let it creep up. I know it's difficult, but it's important. Because,
Well,
you know,
and I mean, this is kind of a little bit back to the budget, which I know you kind of mentioned, but so a little off, but this year our unfunded liability is actually, at least the payment that they asked us to make is only $11,000. And that is because of the numbers that we're seeing next year, so fiscal year 24-25. We anticipate that that's going to be a different story. But right now we are paying down the unfunded liability that they have given us that is new.
we have been doing that.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Correct.
It's been, we don't want to be in a situation, we did the pension obligation bond, which I thought was a very good idea at the time, and especially with the interest rates we got, is just incredible considering where we're at right now. But stay on top of those as we have been doing, and I do appreciate that. So, but just keep us informed and our residents informed. But thank you.
Of course. And then, Wendy, just to mention, we are definitely working on some of those recommendations. And one thing to note is the bank reconciliations were one of the big areas that they mentioned. During that time, while we hadn't completely finished that bank reconciliation and reviewed it, we do daily look at our bank statement. We reconcile checks on a daily basis, which really reduces that fraud, and that's really what we're trying to make sure that we, don't lose sight of that. And so that's the big concern, and we were doing that side of it. But definitely, as we get staff, up to where they need to be, we will, and we're already doing much better than we were. So, yes.
It's hard to catch up when you get behind.
It is, yes, especially financials. Yes,
financials.
Yeah.
They don't stop going. So.
And Mr. Mayor, just on the CalPERS issue and all that stuff, so their total market value as of Friday was $462 billion, give or take a little bit. As Chrissy said, we're ending the fiscal year shortly. On June 30th is when CalPERS does their mark-to-market. And so there could be a complete run and we can be high, and all of a sudden in the last week it dips down by $20-30 billion because they've done that before. And then that's what determines the rate. So we're at a little over 5% what they were last year, because they ended the year at $439 billion. So again, we want to get to that 6.8 or above. It'd nice to be above. So I think we're going to have at least 2 years of kind of bad numbers in front of us. We're still, 2 years ago, they were at 477. So they're still less than what they were. So it's something we do have to be careful about and continue to watch carefully and watch our pensions.
It's so frustrating because I don't know any company that can lose $70 billion in one fell swoop back in the mortgage-backed securities and just charge everybody more for it, for their mistakes. It's just sad reality, but that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. With that, we would just receive and, yes? Receive and file. Okay. That's it. And then we move to public comments and oral communications. Anybody have any public comments? Or Ms. Beauchamp?
I would like to take a moment to thank all of the first responders who had to work yesterday on Father's Day, and a happy belated Father's Day to everyone. People don't appreciate the majority of firefighters and police officers being male and having to miss those holidays with their families. And so I truly appreciate the people who make those sacrifices for our city, so I want them to be recognized. And I would like the council and the mayor to please thank Mr. Domer, because he answers my questions so thoroughly. You guys are being saved a lot of time because I don't have to pull stuff off of the consent calendar. So thank you, Mr. Domer. I appreciate the thoroughness of your emails. It's really much better, transparent, and excellent communication compared to our previous city manager.
So what you're telling us is we hired well.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you did.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
But thank you. Anyone else? Oh, yeah. Mr. Prentice, come on up.
Terry Prentice, 2986 Wynwood Street, EP Council. I don't mean to demean anybody or be critical, but going through the budget, something like 150 some pages. For a person who's not familiar with the budgeting process and executing of budgets, it's a little daunting. And in previous years, I know, having gone through about a year and a half ago, went through City of Claremont's budget and City of San Dimas budget because I was trying to find out what they were paying for fire services. I found that City of Claremont is a very convoluted process, but every business and corporation seems to have a different style of how they report their revenue and their costs. And I would suggest that what would make it easier for the common person to understand the budget is to not only have the budget as it was presented, which is basically looked like a chart of accounts with numbers applied to it, but a summary where things are lopped together. So we know when someone can take a look at it and see what these items are in big numbers, and then when they have a question, they can go back and look at the budget. But to go through 153 pages is quite daunting. So that's my comment.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening. Wayne Perry, 4744 Esperanza. Mike, I have two comments, and they're both based upon the meeting that I went to, San Dimas 740 East Foothills Boulevard, the project they got over there. So, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and citizens of Laverne, these two comments that I have. I was at the meeting last week, and my first comment is who on the City Council attended that meeting? So I'll ask you directly. Mr. Crosby, did you attend?
Johnson.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Johnson.
On Zoom.
I'm sorry?
On Zoom.
On Zoom, okay. I know the mayor attended.
On Zoom.
Okay. And did Mr. Cash, was he there? And Mr. Crosby?
He was on Zoom, and I don't know if Mr. Crosby was on Zoom.
The point is that everybody should have been there, I believe. And so if you're not there, I don't know how the city can present a united front against this project. I was there, as other Laverne citizens were. We're not paid to represent anybody, the citizens that went, but as elected council members, you are paid. So if you weren't at the meeting, I hope your constituents remember that at election time, because I bet that 95% of the Laverne citizens who even know about this project are against it. So you should have been there, and you should have made your presence known. On a second note, I did contact my councilman, which is Councilman Cash. One of his campaign items that he directly talked to me about was annexing unincorporated properties adjacent to Laverne. And he told me he called me, he described that he was working on this issue. And if I understood him correctly, he was more interested in annexing some developed properties. I think the city needs to focus on undeveloped property. For example, the empty lot on the north side of Baseline at the curves. I don't think the county would be building a project like the 740 project in a developed area, so we need to look at unincorporated county areas. And Mayor Hepburn, you, when I proposed this same idea at a previous meeting, you nodded your head, assenting to me your agreement with the idea, so that I hope you'll do your best to push this idea along with Councilman Cash. The whole point of this is to prevent another unwanted county project from even starting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Mr. Bowen.
Council, Mr. Mayor, I think the song you were referring to when we started was Tommy Two-Tone for a Good Time Call, if I remember right. I want to thank City Manager Domer for removing the porta potty that I brought up last time. It was great. Appreciate it. If we could get an update on a potential cell tower in North Laverne, 10-year project. Talked about committee members or committee appointments. If somebody could tell us tonight what are currently open and applications, et cetera, because some of them have been kind of, well, not hidden, but not very well presented. Question if there's going to be any discussion in the near future about the excuse me, Lutheran High School closing, as we could see a lot of things going on that corner. And Mr. Domer, I want to mirror Danita's. Any questions you get asked, you answer, and it's refreshing. I didn't want to speak about the contracts tonight because it's been a 3 or 4 year issue. So the fact that you are working on that is great and appreciated. I think it would do the city a big favor. And I do want to also comment on the 740. You know, I hate to see things like this suddenly just start to wane, and everybody thinks, well, he's doing it, she's doing it. And pretty soon the building's going up over there, and we'll all get shocked. And lastly, Father's Day, Mother's Day. Maybe from now on we ought to have a proclamation for Father's Month and Mother's Month, because barring some weird science, without fathers or mothers, I don't think any of us would be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Any other public comment? With that, we'll close public comment. Just hanging back there.
I know, I got to sometimes.
Mr. Gill, welcome.
Well, already we've heard about the 740 project, but recently we've witnessed much more. For those of you that have watched my program that I've recently done, The Straight Line, we've witnessed the issues happening with Glendora, as the state has told them that a 6-acre plot of land will become housing. And now they have to figure out what they're going to do. If the state is looking at Glendora, how long before they will start looking at land that Laverne has, before they start looking at other places of land as well? So you have to be prepared. In episode 2, Karen Barter spoke in Claremont as she discussed her reasonings with the 740 project, and how she said that she was helpless. She is not helpless. There are 5 supervisors that still have a vote on this, and we will still make sure that our voices will be heard. In Hacienda Heights, Supervisor Solis still has an issue with a permanent housing project. Supervisor Solis is also our county supervisor as well. And yes, our voices will be heard on that matter. We have lost, unfortunately, city rights, state rights that we need to get back. The voters are on my petition and are growing. Those voices are getting louder. We need to make sure that the city councils of Laverne, San Dimas, and now Glendora understand what's coming and know that you, as well as them, are on board and saying, no, this has to stop, and that you are against it and continue to be against these issues, because we cannot allow this to happen. We cannot allow these people to tell us that we do not have a choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Anyone else? We'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it up to the dais. Council. Councilmember Lau.
Just a couple of things. There was a CASI meeting earlier part of this month, and I just wanted to reiterate that it's been a really nice opportunity to see some of the different organizations within the city come together, whether it's churches, teachers, whatever it is, come together to share opportunities for engagement and volunteerism within the city to make the city better. So I urge anyone that is interested in that type of thing and is looking for new opportunities to maybe meet new people or find new ways to help out the city, that's a great way to do it. I know July 5th might be difficult. I know that's a week when people might be going out of town or doing different things, but as Yvonne stated earlier, there is a meeting on July 5th. I think it was last week or the week before, Mayor Tim Hepburn and I went to the League of Women Voters, and so we want to extend a thank you to the League for hosting that event. It was a really nice event where the observers from the different councils and the different commissions at various cities got to report back on what they were seeing. So I think it was really interesting for us to see.
They were very complimentary to us.
They were very complimentary to us.
Yes.
So thank you. But
we do our job.
But it was nice to see what other cities are doing and what they're experiencing, because I think the more that we can interact with others to provide united fronts on certain issues or to identify norms that we can act upon, I think that's really a good thing. I will also toot our own horn by saying that the city of Laverne was the only city represented by council members. So I don't know where the other cities were, unfortunately, that day, but it was a really good meeting. So if anyone's interested, I strongly recommend getting to know the League of Women Voters. They do some really good work out there, and they're an essential part of this community. I will also reiterate, as you all know, Dr. Devorah Lieberman is leaving the university, retiring. Her last day will be August 14th, but we have identified a new president, and that is Dr. Pardis Madavi, and she will start August 15th, and she is having informal meetings already to situate herself within the community. So I'm sure we will see her at future events and continue the partnership with the university. So as always, I hope everyone had a good Father's Day. I know we did, which was nice. So it was nice to have my dad home. So I hope everybody enjoyed that. And as always, be kind to each other. Have a good week. And looking forward to seeing everybody July 4th. Ooh, if you are on the parade route, decorate your house. Because it's always fun for the parade participants, since we don't get to see the rest of the people in the parade because we're in one static place. It's always nice to see the homes on the route decorated, and there is a contest. So spread the word.
If you're not getting knocked over by trees. Because of the high fire trucks, the ladder trucks, whatever.
Tree came at us.
It's okay, Chief. You almost killed 3 council members, but don't worry about it.
Yeah. Try again.
I tried. Councilmember Johnson.
Okay. So our next meeting, July 3rd, has been canceled? Correct? Okay.
July 17th.
Please have a safe and happy 4th of July. It's a great time to be with family and friends, but please be safe on the road and leave the fireworks to the professionals. Correct? Very good. All right. Thank you.
June, I've decided, is probably the busiest month for council and city, between just not only what we do here, but the other functions that we do outside. It's a wonderful community we live in, but we had graduations at Ramona. We had the retirement for Devorah Lieberman, which is all in our community, and it's wonderful. Just want everybody to know what we do as a council. Most of us are always attending these functions to make sure that they know that we're here and that we represent the community. But there was one of the things that I attended, and it was was it Wednesday? It's the Metro CEO Stephanie Wiggins and also the chair, Ara Najarian. And they invited the mayors from our local communities to talk about Metro. She gave a presentation regarding it's basically for the new opening of the A line, that's what's going to be called now. It's not going to be the L line or the Gold line. It'll be the A line. The A line. But they opened up the new train, which is a tunnel train that's 40 miles one way and 21 miles the other way. But I think that the biggest thing that they brought us there for is to explain their security force. And as you can't go a day without something going on with Metro, whether it be drug abuse or stabbings or uncleanliness. They've been working on it, but I did stand up and speak and say my biggest concern as our station is opening in 2025, the security of our residents and the people traveling to and from. It's so important that you work on that. And they promised us, but at the end of the day, as us electeds, we need to continually pressure Metro. One of the Gold Line chair, Ed Reese, took a trip this weekend on the Gold Line to the new station all the way down to Long Beach. And his comments were that there were portions of it that were good, but there were portions of it that he was frightful for his own safety. Cleanliness was so-so. So I think as residents, but also as our electeds, that we are definitely pushing for that because it's been a big concern. The mayor of Azusa, being that's the end of the line, basically told them and said, we were informed there may be some changes to our community with the end of the line, and he said we were not prepared for what actually happened, you know, and with homeless coming off and things like that. And I know that Anna's back there shaking her head. It's like we know that now. So we have a couple years, and they're you know, talking about security force, their own security between the sheriffs and LAPD. But that's what we do, and it was very important for us to be there. We do work with our higher electeds, with Senator Susan Rubio, who's been just extremely outspoken, and I think she might be running for Congress, if I'm not mistaken, for Senator Feinstein, but I'm not sure about that. But these higher electeds bring money into our communities, but also help us with bills, and also as part of that SB 9 and SB 10, and what Mr. Gill had talked about. A lot of communities are very frustrated now with losing control of their local control, and as a community, we do need to, and we need to start fighting back on that. And I do agree with that 100%. It just seems like every time there's one particular Senator Wiener that is one that's constantly trying to chip away at local control, and it's time to start taking it back. So as a city, doing it on the legal grounds, but to start, and that's one thing about the San Gabriel Council of Governments is they're consistently fighting these bills that are coming through with language that basically keeps taking away the rights of our communities. So we're working on that too. But with that, we do have 4th of July coming, and I want to make sure we buy tickets, buy them for $10, not $12, and then also support our Historical Society and our Heritage Foundation, and everything that we do here in our community is wonderful, and just so many functions going on and so many fun things in our community. So, Councilmember Lau, you got to go back.
I'm sorry, and I just want to. You reminded me. You know, I think one of the things that I think has become more and more apparent, at least to me, is that there is a great benefit to us to have a better relationship with the university. And I say that because when we were attending the retirement event, Senator Rubio was there, Senator Portantino was there, Grace Napolitano was there, Assemblymember Holden, and sometimes it's these events that aren't formal that you are able to have these conversations in an atmosphere where you can communicate the concerns of the city and its residents. And so, you know, I think it was a really good opportunity for that. I think the other thing that's important to note is the university also has a vested interest in making sure that the Gold Line, or whatever we're calling it today, you know, the A line is safe, you know, whatever we decide the name changes to, but because they're anticipating that students will use it, staff and faculty may be using that mode of transportation, and they want to ensure that those people are safe too. So I know that the director of security, who is a former law enforcement officer, has been in contact with our police department to talk about ways in which they can partner and make sure that it is safe for us. And so, you know, again, as Mayor indicated, you know, we don't always get to tell you every single thing that we do. We try to remember, but those are some of the things that do happen behind the scenes that we're trying to make sure everybody's working together, because we're going to be better if we're all working together to make these things happen. So I really appreciate the way in which this council has really worked together. It is hard to be at everything, so you know, there are usually, you know, conversations back and forth, like,
rotate.
hey, yeah,
can you make it?
Can you cover this for me today? So, you know, rest assured that we are working in concert without violating the Brown Act. So, to be clear, about who covers what and when and who's talking to who. So,
it's funny because, as Councilmember Lau stated, it's sometimes you get a phone call from a higher elected saying, "I've got some funds, and I need a decision right now on I've got whatever amount of money and." Give me something, because I'm in the chambers right now, and we need to. There's each person, no matter what elected official you are, have a certain kitty that they give to our city, and we have received, and the university has received, many wonderful gifts from our higher elected. So, and I want to thank Councilmember Carter. You've been on the Gold Line. You were on the Gold Line committee for many, many years, and it's on time and on budget still, and we're still looking at the $897 million. Right now, we should know within less than a week that it's looking better that we're going to get funding for our extension from Pomona to Claremont to Montclair. So cross our fingers, but they've loosened up some money, and I know a lot of the rail systems are in trouble right now because of the COVID and just whatever the situation, but that's a possibility. So with that. Yes, you may.
Just real quick, there are 2 current vacancies on the Planning Commission and 1 on the Public Financing Authority for the EIFD, the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. Information for that is online on our website. Also, regarding 740 Foothill, we did get confirmation that Supervisor Barger is available for the July 6th meeting, so we're going to be finalizing that. So July 6th, which we are proposing as a joint San Dimas Laverne City Council meeting. So all 5 council members from each city will be there. So we'll be having more information out very soon. We hope to wrap that up by the end of this week. So, so that's important.
Have they received all our information we've been sending them with our letters?
Yes.
Because I was hearing that there wasn't.
No, well, we've sent it to them. Well, we haven't had a response to our letter. They responded to San Dimas.
Okay.
So
probably want to check on that.
Yeah.
Put some
Well, when
pressure
they
on them.
responded to San Dimas, they did not respond to their city manager. They responded to me, but to their mayor. So it was kind
So
of
in other
confusing.
words, they don't. Okay.
Yeah. We're working on that.
That's
so
to be announced.
Yeah. At a large facility in San Dimas, more than likely, with a better sound system than what was going on the other night. So.
Oh, well, you guys. Mr. Johnson.
It's my mom's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Nadine.
We're not going to sing.
Go ahead. We'll be right behind you.
One other thing I wanted to say, that I wanted to give a shout out to Acting Chief Sam Gonzalez, because I did have a conversation with Senator Rubio's office, and she had mentioned that she had a couple of chiefs that she had tapped, much to what Councilmember Johnson was saying, that when she needed information, she was looking to our city for that information and was reaching out to Chief Gonzalez. So thank you for being accessible. Thank you for helping us build those relationships, because those are really, really important to make sure that we're thought of favorably for, first in line for money. We're happy to take it. Help us out here. So appreciate that. And I also wanted to say thank you to the 4th of July committee, because for those of you that don't know, that is a volunteer-run organization, and they come to meetings and they work with our staff, and and our staff and our police and our fire are amazing. Everybody's community services puts in so much work to make sure that day is amazing. So I know the mayor said buy the tickets for $10, but if you'd like to help the group, pay $12.
Time for 20.
Make a donation.
Double down.
But thank you very much.
Okay, one last one. I'm going to mirror on what you said. Being part of the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, we deal with a lot of entities, whether it be Los Angeles, whether it be higher electorates, Rubio, Grace Napolitano. The respect as far as our community and our city staff is tremendous. I will echo Councilmember Lau's that I know our Community Services Department, our Police Department, our Fire Department, our Public Works, our internal staff, I get nothing but compliments from the people that I deal with. And it's just a testament to our city management, but also the employees we have here. And I'm not just saying that; it's very true. And it's just nice to hear that we're easy to deal with. Information's great. They answer their phones. They get back to people. I know Yvonne Duran, our community services director, direct line with the COG, along with the police department and the fire department. And they just every time I talk to them, they're just very happy about how wonderful it is to work with the city of Laverne. So we just got to keep it up, keep that reputation going. But I thank all of our staff. And thank all of our staff again for everything you did on this. I know this has been tough for everybody, but we're on the back hill sliding down, and hopefully it's a little easier from here on in. With that, our next regular scheduled meeting will be scheduled for July 3rd. which is canceled, excuse me. Next scheduled, July 3rd is canceled. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. The next regular meeting of Laverne City Council is scheduled for Monday, July 17th at 6:30 p.m. We will be closing the adjournment of June 19th, 2023 council meeting in memory of Father Pat Travers, who passed away on June 1st, 2023. Father Travers was born in Belen, Colorado. Balen, what is that?
Oh, Balen
County, Carlow, Ireland. Excuse me. That's a long one. Man. Yeah, thank you. On June 13th, 1937, and was baptized on the same day. He was the youngest of 10. His father was a farmer, or farm laborer. His mother was a homemaker. He attended local elementary and secondary schools before entering the Sacred Hearts Novitat in Coatell County, Cavan, where he was professed on August 15th, 1956. He then went to the Queen of Peace Seminary in Jaffrey Center, New Hampshire. He was ordained on June 24th, 1962, and was assigned to teach at Damien High School, Laverne, California. He was handed 2 books and told to go and teach. He took the order seriously. For the rest of his life, with and without books, he taught us to live like Jesus. Father Travers spent 49 years at Damien. During almost all of those years, he taught geometry to thousands of students. He also served as the athletic director, the dean of discipline, he hated it, the dean of studies. He was principal at the Damien High School from 1980 to 2010. During his tenure, he developed academic programs, built student enrollment, oversaw the construction of 2 classroom buildings, a swimming pool, tennis courts, artificial turf on the football field, and a new athletic center, which bears his name. In 1987, he started the Tijuana Outreach Ministry. On Saturdays, he would take the students to help at orphanages, bringing food, clothing, and building houses involving the young men of Damien along with their fathers. After Father Travers left Damien as president in 2011, he became the pastor of Holy Innocents Parish in Victorville, where he worked together with Father Paul Mortage. All who knew him well miss him and long remember the outstanding contributions he made to Damien and the Laverne community. Thank you all. We are adjourning at 8:45 p.m. Thank you.